Thanks, Debbie. Talk about overselling. I would echo my friend from China's comments here. It's a real pleasure, in fact, to follow on the stage after you. I'm so excited to hear about the developments in China and social entrepreneurship. And really to have spent the last couple of days with all of you. I'm embarrassed that it's the first time that I've actually made it to the conference, and I've already learned so much. It is such a rich gathering from the sessions that I heard about the research in social entrepreneurship, or the entrepreneurial education awards and other awards programs, what I learned about music entrepreneurship from the folks at Webster, and the breakthroughs in the cross-campus interdisciplinary work that's just growing from what I heard TCU and Wake Forest and Ball and on and on. My lunch discussion, learning about the innovative courses going on. I really feel that the international growth of USASBE is because there is great demand for what's going on. So my congratulations and thanks to you all for inviting me. I guess I'll follow your lead and try to make 4 points, although like Clint this morning with Emma, he wanted to make 7 and ended up making 10, so I may do the same. When asked by the lovely Bill Jackson, well, what do you want to speak about? What's your title? I said, I'm not sure. How about Social Entrepreneurship 3.0? And I said that kind of self-servingly because there's a new book that David Bornstein and I have coming out with Oxford's Press. I think they put a flyer in the bag about it. Their series on what everyone needs to know about some topic. And they started with Islam. They had one on Kosovo. They actually wanted one on social entrepreneurship, which is indicative of the growing demand. And they wanted a simple overview, highly readable primer. So the first point that I want to make is how social entrepreneurship has evolved from the 1.0 through now what I call 3.0, and the trends in mind shifting. The second point would be really this trend in education and what we're witnessing now, and you all are, I guess, the pioneers of, from creating job seekers to job creators. The third point, which I'll talk about, is how we've moved from, well, when you shift your lens and your mind, how you can move from seeing crisis to seeing opportunity. And I'll use the story of Brack to tell you about that. And also then talk about Haiti, since it's very much on my mind, and I know the minds of probably all of you in the audience. And we'll wrap up about the big shift from academics to entrepreneurial educators, and hopefully have time for a discussion. So I have a friend here, Dwayne, who's got a short DVD that can set the scene. I was the executive producer to Ashoka of a series on social entrepreneurship, and the introductory promo gives you an idea with 6 examples from Muhammad Yunus to Bill Drayton and others of what I mean by social entrepreneurship, and how it started with the identification of individuals and maybe a hero approach, to 2.0, the evolution of organizations and a focus on social enterprise, and now what I call 3.0, the everyone a change maker type approach. Dwayne, if you want to roll that video now. I didn't trust myself to work technology.
Is a better world possible? The challenges sometimes seem overwhelming. Billions of people have no access to education, health care, clean drinking water, or even basic human rights. Their poverty is compounded by corruption, conflict over resources, economic stagnation, and violence.
Some countries, whole generations of young people are being lost.
So the cycle goes on and on. So one has to break that cycle.
Where are the solutions? And who are the change makers who can create them? In the past few decades, a powerful force has emerged. New leaders finding new ways to tackle the world's biggest problems. Problems that governments and businesses alone have not been able to overcome.
This is a new language, a new way of looking at the world.
Very different structure, different framework, different reference points.
This global revolution is led by social entrepreneurs, innovative people who respond to local problems, engage their communities in solving them, and accelerate change.
What has happened during the last 5 years is breathtaking.
People have the power of transformation.
This series is an opportunity to learn from the most extraordinary social entrepreneurs, people whose visionary ideas and persistence have enabled millions to transform their own lives. These founding members of Ashoka's Global Academy for Social Entrepreneurship have lessons to offer us all about the power of our own potential.
Poverty is not caused by the poor people. Poverty is caused by the system we built.
Muhammad Yunus founded Grameen Bank, a bank tailored for poor people.
We did something wrong and poverty is created. So let's do something right so that poverty disappears.
These big projects lend themselves to huge kickbacks, to payments of 10, 20, 30 million dollars.
Peter Eigen and Transparency International have galvanized a global effort against corruption.
So that was the breakthrough, an approach which social entrepreneurs should pursue.
Decent working conditions are a basic human right, and we think that consumers have a right to expect it.
Alice Tepper Marlin established Social Accountability International to help assure fair standards in workplaces worldwide.
And that every company has the capacity to treat the people who work for them decently.
Of the 100 greatest economies in the world, 51 are businesses.
Oded Grajev and the Ethos Institute have made corporate social responsibility the norm in Brazil.
Social responsibility is nothing more and nothing less than doing the right things.
Life expectancy at birth in 1975 was 49, now it's 61.
BRAC is the largest citizen sector organization in Bangladesh and in the world. Fazil Hassan Abed is its creator.
You need to have large-scale programs, otherwise you don't bring about any significant change.
Our job is not to give people fish, it's not to teach them how to fish, it's to build a new and better fishing industry.
Bill Drayton is founder of Ashoka, Innovators for the Public, supporter of social entrepreneurs worldwide.
88% of the people we elect at the end of 5 years have had other institutions copy their ideas. 59% have achieved national policy impact.
They all started small, from humble beginnings. You are invited to share their journeys, learn their insights, and about the tools they use to produce change.
We have a window of opportunity of a couple of
This is
years.
a chance that we have to think
The
ahead.
companies that get this are going to have a huge competitive advantage.
Whether you're in business, the media, government, universities, or the social sector, this series will expose you to a new way of thinking and working that will stretch your own beliefs about what's possible and how you can achieve it.
Thank you, Dwayne. So this is old now. It's maybe 2004, I think, when we brought that out. So all the numbers about Grameen and BRAC will be well out of date. But I made it because I wanted to at least capture how these people approached their idea in building the organizations and the wider social movements, because as demand grew for these folks to come to the classroom, they couldn't obviously be in every place, and now there's at least a 3-minute clip on a DVD that you can bring Eunice into the classroom, or Abed, or Bill Drayton. And I felt that as well, I've been advising the NYU program on social entrepreneurship, and as one of the students there said, shift happens. And I realized it's true, shift does happen. In my own lifetime, I remember being in the back of the seat when my parents would drive down the highways, be drinking something, and toss the can out of the window. They'd eat something, take the wrapper, throw it out along the highway. We used to, believe it or not, litter a lot. Do you remember that? Is anybody old enough like me to remember when that used to happen? And then the litter bug campaign started happening, and kids changed their parents and their own behavior, and we cleaned up the highways. And yeah, there's an occasional litter now and again, but a lot of strategies got used, and it is not only socially unacceptable, but you just, I mean, you can be fined, there's all kinds, but we really created a shift from littering to an environmental awareness. That's one example, and if you think about it, there are a lot of examples of, in fact, shift happening. I think the consciousness that you all have brought into bear about entrepreneurial thinking is one of the big shifts that's happening, and maybe 20 years ago when you started, this is where social entrepreneurship is today. I've heard, since I started more than 20 years ago in social entrepreneurship and with microfinance, I definitely feel the shift happening. It's, you know, I really didn't go to Bangladesh and live there 4.5 years because I planned it. It was due to a great opportunity that came up because of one of my college professors. I was actually planning my 30th birthday party to go celebrate somewhere in Africa, and one of my professors said, "Oh, go talk to Johnny Gerhardt at Ford Foundation. He knows everything about Africa." When I turned up a month later to find out about great places to go, he said, "Oh, I hope you don't mind. We've got a job opening in Bangladesh. We thought you might be interested." I'm like, I'm not here for a job interview. I was very excited doing export trade for the Port Authority and the World Trade Center. It was exciting times. We were emulating the Japanese sogo-shoshas and trying to figure out how we could create in our small businesses a global orientation. And all of a sudden, the chance to go from the 67th floor in the World Trade Center to the villages in Bangladesh became a life-changing opportunity for me. At 30 years old, it just happened to be that the 60 Minutes film crew was told to come see me because they could get beer in Bangladesh. And I ended up being asked to go on camera about Muhammad Yunus's story in Grameen Bank and forever somehow get associated with this and help to start the Grameen Foundation. And then when my good friend from BRAC asked me a few years ago to start the BRAC USA, again as a volunteer said, of course. Why? Because I think it's important for people in America to understand that we didn't invent entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship in the country. While we have many great examples, in fact, there's a lot going on, whether it's Brazil or Bangladesh or around the world, and it is, and in China, a very important nexus between the universities and the professors and the centers of learning. In fact, it was Professor Du who translated every word that Grameen had written and Yunus had written into Chinese that got the microfinance movement started there. I think the power of education and the shift from creating job seekers to job creators is at the heart of what our world needs, because there's not enough good wage employment to go around. We in fact have to stimulate much greater self-employment, and that's part of what the microfinance revolution has been all about. Dwayne, if I could ask you to just put on the clip from northern Uganda. Since a lot of you are professors, I know you'll get a kick at being amused at what these kids were probably forced to sing. Your students wouldn't, I imagine. But it does get serious.
Anya kan Jacqueline an mana tia parangwan an bien ku mia kan abien kan kwan kan ji ku beru wa ngeo jam wen ngeo med la med medong kila kwan wen da ngeo an ka kwan mia bella chadu kan pien bere tie tien ne konyo dano
Ania kan na ti ma na par bi gang kwan kan ma wan fu bien wa punga chan nyingwa nak me be kwan wan tin no wan je mu du kilu no ma wa wan fu tel punga no ket ma wan ya wa cho ke nyingwa ke ku be dong ti fonyo wando mer dong wando nge jon nyingwa chige na be ma wando ten no ido ti dong wando nge wa dom le mon kai mu kana ka wando waya ti do ku be chan wan kan ma wando ti mete ka chan no da yer tereng.
Thank you, Dwayne. You can put on the slideshow now. If you didn't catch it when Akot was saying she was abducted, that's because this is northern Uganda, and you know the Lord's Resistance Army had a horrible conflict, and many children and women were abducted, used as sex slaves, child soldiers, incredible pain and abuse in that part of the country. The war's over and the rebuilding is going on, so we're running second chance schools for probably just under 8,000 children, 80% girls, half of them are child moms now. And as you heard her say, what we want is a chance. And so that's part of the story of BRAC. 1971 in Bangladesh, if you remember, I mean, I had the concert for Bangladesh, that's all I knew, so maybe some of you were there. George Harrison, first kind of Live Aid concert. The horrible, brutal war, East and West Pakistan divide. Bangladesh wins the War of Independence, December 1971. 1972, this Bangladeshi guy named Abed, who had been a Shell oil executive, trained as a chartered accountant, had a good life, actually, has dual citizenship in England. He sells his apartment, goes to Bangladesh, uses that money to start a relief effort in the remote northern part of the country. That money runs out pretty quickly. The need is overwhelming, and he gets a grant from Oxfam. He implements the program in a year. He does it, overachieves, under budget, asks them if he can return that money to them. They were shocked. They've never had anybody ask to return money. They said, well, could you keep going? That is 37 years ago. And the guy you saw in the Ashoka video, Abed, has continued to be the chairperson of what now is probably one of the largest development organizations in the world, and probably a best-kept secret of a development success story. I mean, you actually see where social entrepreneurship and international aid assistance has been able to build something sustainable. So there's $1 billion balance sheet. There's 80% of all of their annual operating budget right now is around $600 million, 80% self-generated from microfinance and various social businesses. You saw one of the dairies and chicken farms and all of that. Fascinating case about the intersection of social business, microfinance, and social entrepreneurship. And Bangladesh, you know, is one of the poorest places on the planet. So you've got Grameen there, you've got BRAC there, you've got, in fact, a lot of other organizations, and they actually have moved the needle on all of the key human development indicators. Jobs nowhere near done, but it is the only country on track with bad governance to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. Remarkable. Reducing the number of mothers and babies dying, increasing primary school enrollment for girls, being able to look at all of the key indicators of whether you're living or dying in ways one expect, and there's improvement. Microfinance is no panacea. None of these groups are. Good governance is key. But even when you have practically a failed state, and that's kind of what the Bangladeshis have been dealt, you can make change happen. And they've done it because the opportunity cost of not doing it, you just can't sit around and wait for your government to get it together. So you can actually see the cost, the opportunity costs, and the stunting and wasting of children. When I was there living from 1986 to 91, I could see the difference in the size of a child with a mom who was a Grameen or BRAC member and one who was not, because they eat every day. The kid, I would ask the mom, how old's your child? She would say 6. Side by side, there'd be a mom whose child looked the same, and that child was 3. There's evidence that supports this, but I could see it. And because of that, I'm really agnostic about the organization. I'm looking for solutions that are on her side. That woman and her family that are trying to feed that child, because we know the importance of 0 to 6 if you don't eat enough and what that means. And as you heard Steve Mariotti talking about the importance of giving young people a chance to create their own future and be part of the change in national development, that's the key. And that's this story that I witnessed, being this American kid that really didn't know much, and I went there wide-eyed and got to give away money in one of the poorest countries in the world. I mean, how tough could that be, right? So quickly I realized we need to bring a lot more capital together, leverage those resources, and create scalable, sustainable solutions. That's why I got turned on to microfinance and to social entrepreneurship. I really am a believer in that. And when I was asked to look at how I could support BRAC, the crisis in 2002 in Afghanistan led them to respond. Yes, of course, the U.S. had bombed, the Taliban had fallen, but they realized when they saw 3 million refugees streaming back into Afghanistan, it was like the 10 million refugees coming back home in Bangladesh to a broken country, not unlike now in Haiti. And what they did is reach out and ask, do you want some help? We don't know if we've got anything to offer, but we'll try. Now, their government doesn't let foreign exchange leave the country, quite rightly. So they went through all hoops and whistles to get permission to send $250,000 of their dollars, profits earned by the work of those women, basically, through selling milk or chickens or repaying their loans with interest, to Afghanistan with a team of Bangladeshis who rode the buses like locals, started organizing and figuring out, will anything that we know work there? Now, 2010, largest provider of microfinance, health, education, and other development services in Afghanistan, working in 34 of 34 provinces everywhere. Yes, it's a Muslim majority country. Yes, their staff generally pray with the same folks at their mosque. Yes, their staff, some of them have been kidnapped and held hostage. Yes, we've managed to get them out, the longest one after 84 days. Yes, a few of them have been killed, mainly by robbers trying to get money out of it. It is dangerous, but it's working. And when I've gone there and I ask the women, are they better off? Absolutely. But they need and want more. And emboldened by this confidence that maybe they had something to offer as a cost-effective, development organization, because their staff live and work like the locals. They're not like me, that got a privileged job and have drivers and, nice houses and stuff. They decided to take up the challenge in Africa and in Pakistan and after the tsunami in Sri Lanka. And we were, as you can see, I've been showing you pictures of the kinds of folks we work with in the different countries in Sierra Leone, Liberia, Southern Sudan, Uganda, Tanzania, as I mentioned, Sri Lanka after the tsunami, and now Pakistan. And we were just in the process of working, deepening our partnership in Haiti, where we've had technical advisors there in Haiti for about 4 years, working with the largest microfinance organization called FONCOSE. FONCOSE has worked in Haiti since 1994. It's in fact inspired and an adaptation of the Grameen Bank and BRAC, and what they were replicating was the program for the ultra poor. Really extremely poor people that, the debate in microfinance that it doesn't really reach the poorest. So to respond to that debate, BRAC created this program called the Ultra Poor that is like an asset transfer scheme with training, a welfare to work type deal. And after 2 years, 95% graduate into microfinance to be able to borrow. Grameen responded with their struggling members program, the beggars program, zero interest loans and help and very forgiving. But everybody is trying to figure out, well, how do we address the extremely poor? And in Haiti, there are people who are really very, very poor, like Bangladesh and African conditions, Bangladesh in the 70s. So we were looking at the invitation of our partners, FONCOSE and Partners in Health, Paul Farmer's outfit, to try to scale up the Ultra Poor program, expand out the range of opportunities that we could give young people to be involved in their own development, like this big call to action in Bangladesh in the 70s, to build the country, to start rural enterprises. And we were looking at actually starting an SME bank, a small and medium-sized enterprise bank, because in Bangladesh there's the fastest growing small business bank is BRAC Bank. There was an IPO that was oversubscribed. We started a similar bank in Afghanistan with investors from ShoreCap, Triodos, IFC. And we're looking at the same, doing that in Haiti. And the team, in fact, was supposed to arrive today. They were leaving Wednesday. The earthquake happened Tuesday evening. And so obviously that got suspended. I was last there in August. And the hotel where I stayed is flattened. The places that we visited, of course, are. But I remain, as desperate as the scene is there right now, I remain hopeful that out of this very deep crisis, there can be an opportunity for Haiti to maybe even leapfrog in some of its development needs, because it was on the right path. President Clinton had brought a big investor mission with the IDB and IFC in October. There are people who recognized it was a good place to do business, and I think that this community, we can talk more maybe in the Q&A, this community could do more to help support the efforts of a sustainable microfinance organization, get back into business, because you know the banking system right now is, which was Port-au-Prince centric, is shut down, and we've got to get it back working for the rest of the country, the 6 million outside of the Port-au-Prince area in particular, as well as to support the good medical care that Partners in Health is doing. I think that, you know, I would have talked more about climate change crisis, the Tibet-China issues on it, but what I'd like to conclude with and open up then the floor to discussion is this incredible role that, and the shift going on from being academics to being entrepreneurial educators. If, Dwayne, you would show the MyBRAC slides, I'll tell you that we sent a team of Duke students. We had probably 40 interns last summer before last, 40, and this team of 10 students, undergrads from Duke, went over, and we asked them to figure out what is BRAC. Because it's a tough story to tell. I don't know how to really tell the story. Ian Smiley's just written a book on BRAC called Freedom from Want. It's a great adventure tale, and I recommend it. But these students came up with slides, photos, video interviews, and these captions that moved me so much, because they interviewed the people who deliver the services, benefit from the services, who feel some identification, the students, the teachers, the healthcare workers, the farmers, the poultry vaccinators, the microfinance staff, the water and sanitation staff, the folks who went through cyclones and responded, and they created their interpretation of what is BRAC, MyBRAC, what MyBRAC means to me. And I show this, and I know it's no surprise, because you're all doing this work probably because you know these students have the great capacity to take the baton from us and to do great things, and that's where I find the hope. If you've heard Eunice ever talk, he gives great credit to his professor at Vanderbilt University from opening his eyes to always urging him to test the theory in reality. And that's what forced him to stop teaching the theory and go out into the villages in Jobra near Chittagong University and start trying to do and make sense of this world. And of course, my professors that eventually got me to doing this incredible work that I feel so privileged to be able to do in service for folks, that my college roommate from Harvard has been doing at Darden, Andy Larson. She's been teaching about clean commerce capitalism and green tech. So she runs a course, Sustainability, Innovation, Entrepreneurship. People didn't know what the heck she was talking about over the last 15 years, and finally, you know, now it's coming. So this is the reason that I came today, and that I've been listening to your workshops, because I really do feel the power that's in this room, that's in your hands. And I know that together we can make shift happen. Thank you. We want to invite dialogue, questions, or further discussion on Haiti. The organizers had actually had requests from some of you to talk about what you're already doing or what you could do. So feel free.
Hi, Susan.
Hi.
My name is Simon Mack. From your experience, what do you see is the role of entrepreneurs going into these areas and starting businesses that employ these individuals? And so that seems to complement the strategy of having individuals sort of be sole proprietors rather, and at the same time having outsiders and even corporations coming in and building factories or retail centers and hiring these individuals to give them a sense of self-economic growth and development. So do you see any experience or
Simon,
observations
I'm not sure who the them is on it. Are you talking about maybe the poorest youth?
Yes. So
Okay.
anyone that BRAC works for, what is your opinion about entrepreneurs coming in and starting a business
I
in a
think
local
entrepreneurship is a resource that, and a latent potential probably in most people, and that depending on one's educational ability and experiences, some of us will have, an ability to create very sophisticated organizations and implement at a much larger scale. So if you think about the entrepreneurial genius in Abed, the founder of BRAC, or Yunus, the founder of Grameen, you have people who could be billionaires in their own right. They can hold their own, I think, with Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, but they chose to create organizations of scale that help other people to make money. Now, the brilliance is that the microfinance unlocks the person without any formal education to be able to earn a little bit more money and use their income-generating entrepreneurial activity to create a job, because there aren't enough wage employment jobs to go around. It didn't stop, though, BRAC and Grameen and others from creating businesses of larger scale. If you've got 400,000 women borrowing to raise a milk cow and they can't really get a fair price for their milk, what's the barrier along that value chain? Something missing, something stuck or broken? Well, in this case, they needed to create a large-scale modern dairy, which BRAC did, and set up 67 chilling stations nationwide, and they have 27% market share. Another example, there was no formal poultry industry. In order to create a poultry industry, somebody had to figure out how to get maize grown in Bangladesh so that you had high-quality feed in order to deal with the high-yielding varieties of chick that the modern poultry industry requires. Otherwise, the indigenous chicks will scrounge around and eat what they can. So to put all of that in place requires somebody willing to be the front runner. People who are worried about just making money, in fact, it's a very risky proposition. Private sector entrepreneurs followed, but it was Abed and BRAC who guaranteed farmers a market price for corn if they took the risk to grow the maize after they imported the seeds from Australia. They set up the distribution model. So what you have is very sophisticated. I learned this at the conference. We've got business model innovation, distribution innovation, right? I mean, it's definitely bottom of the pyramid ripe, and what you're seeing now is a lot of joint ventures. The first one that Dannon did with Grameen created, in fact, the yogurt making factories to take advantage of the distribution channel through Grameen sellers. There's lots of opportunity at every scale for people to become part of the solution. I think that's the key, you see, is what's going to actually solve the problem. It's not one way. I don't want to get into a debate of large-scale factory jobs versus self-employment. We need more and better work for everybody on the planet who needs it. And that's the short-term policies that we've been pursuing, where we trade off. We do an either-or we have policy incentives that are counterproductive.
Hello, Susan.
Hi.
My name is Imad Rahim. I'm a second-generation immigrant from Cambodia. My family migrated to America during the Khmer Rouge invasion. Now, like most second-generation young people, we have taken on the burden to support our families overseas. And my mother, like a lot of mothers and fathers, have been sending money back to Cambodia. And I want to stop this cycle, not to take away the money, but I wanted to, to sustain them without needing me. So we've been buying up land in Cambodia to help families create farms and businesses and to sustain themselves.